Hey creators. So this is my bookshelf of business books arranged by colour, as you can see. And today I thought I would briefly talk about one of my favourites and a little, takeaway that I got from it, which has been really useful for me, and maybe it'll be really useful for you. And the book is Turning Pro by Stephen Pressfield. And Pressfield is a fiction author, but frankly, I've never read one of his fiction books. I've only read his non-fiction, Turning Pro and The War of Art. And what I love about this book is it unpacks possibly the most simple idea you could possibly write a whole book about. And it's just this idea that there's a line, in a sense, and that you can either be above it or below it. And he calls the two states that you can be in: the amateur, which is below the line, and the professional, which is above the line. And he talks about the resistance, which is essentially all the stuff that we push up against when we're trying to be the better version of ourselves, when we're trying to be the version that's above the line. And he talks in his own experience about the amateur for him was an addict. And an addict in quite a literal sense. I think he was fairly into the booze, shall we say. And that one of the things he needed to do to turn pro was to give up those addictive qualities and become an artist. And so he gave these two states of being for him a name: the addict and the artist. And that at any point, no matter what he was doing, he could kind of check in with himself and ask himself, am I being the addict or am I being the artist? Now, usually I'm not one to promote the idea that we can reduce things from their true complexity to such simple terms and have it be useful or make sense. And yet I'm really bought into this idea that at any point, in any moment, in any situation, you can just ask yourself, am I like above the line or below the line? Am I the best version of me or something else? And I find it a really useful filter. But for me, I don't resonate with the idea of an addict and an artist. I'm sort of artistic sometimes, but I don't think of myself as an artist. And I have a very addictive personality, but I'm not really addicted to stuff, and I don't act as an addict in many ways, I don't think. So those two names didn't really resonate for me. But the book did. And what I found was bringing the lessons of that book to life for me became most powerful, and I was able to do it most usefully when I named those two states for myself. And what do you know? You can see them here behind me. They are the creator and creator or the consumer. When I'm above the line, when I'm the pro, when I'm the best version of myself, I'm a very creative person and I create things. And they don't have to be tangible things. Sometimes I just create encouragement or enthusiasm or joy or whatever it might be. But I know that I'm creating something. And when I'm not in that state, when I'm a bit below the line, I can very easily slip, as I believe many of us are conditioned to, into a kind of consumer state where I'm just consuming news, consuming other stuff and not really contributing much at all. And so I didn't put this sign here together just for this video. This sign lives permanently on my desk. And it's a reminder as I walk in here to sit down at my desk that I've got a choice that I can make. I can either be above the line and a creator, or I can kind of dip below the line and be a consumer. And then it's up to me to choose in any given moment which of those two things I want to be. And sometimes it's all right to be a consumer. I don't have to create all the time. But my decision is that when I'm going to consume, I do it just over the other side of the desk on my comfy couch. And that when I sit in this chair, surrounded by these books and this plant and one of my favorite paintings, when I sit in this chair, I choose to be a creator. So if you haven't read Turning Pro by Stephen Pressfield, it's a wonderful book. I love it. And it's really easy to consume. It doesn't even have a contents page. It just has chapters that are like one heading and then 2 pages, and then that's it. So you can read it in little chunks, just leave it by the toilet or whatever. It's one of those kinds of books. But I encourage you to read the book, and I encourage you to come up with whatever your version of those two states, whatever it means to you to be above the line and what it might mean to you when you're below the line. And if you can just like give those two states a name and remind yourself to just check in at moments throughout the day and ask yourself, am I being this version or that version? I find it an incredibly useful way to just access and connect the best version of you and make the most of your day, your week, your month, your year, your life. I hope that's useful. See ya.